Welcome to ZeroCool's Hard Drive with Dunkel will be hosting today. And there's Mr. Hausman.
Hello.
And then there's Berg, a man who will drink 1,507 Guinness and tell you we don't have enough.
Exactly. Never enough.
This week, we're kind of going over The King from 2015, starring Mr. Timothy Chalamet.
Correction there, Mr. Dunkel. That was 2019.
Excuse me. Yeah, I had my years mixed up. It's 2019 with Timothy Chalamet. And this movie was about Henry V, depicting within the 15th century England. Who would like to start off with their views of the movie and how they thought it went?
Well, I want to put a disclaimer up front. We are no historians. We will not
Okay.
be speaking to the historical accuracy of this
Okay.
movie. So
Yeah.
if any of you are listening and thinking, that's wrong, well, keep it to yourself.
Yeah. I'll start off with some news. So, big stories from 2019. TikTok became a super huge thing in the world. Something like 1.3 billion people on TikTok in 2019. Disney Plus launched.
Oh,
Wow.
And big time went with The Mandalorian and Grogu were a huge hit. Were a huge hit in 2019. The last season of Game of Thrones came out to mixed reviews.
I would almost call that terrible news of that year.
Because I always think of, and no disrespect to Game of Thrones, but wasn't that the season where it's the biggest fight that nobody saw because it was dark the entire time?
Yeah, it was super dark.
And they're-
Yeah.
and they're
That
fighting,
and one of the
and they're fighting on the wall.
one of the quickest character turns ever.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
this
Oh.
character we've been grooming as this heroine the whole
Yeah.
time.
Only
Wait.
matching Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah. Oh, she's bad. Oh, crap. All right.
Yeah.
She does this really bad thing. Now you hate her. All right, let's go.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely kind of mixed up at the end.
Big time. They just rushed it too much.
Yeah, very much
the nerds of the internet were going to storm Area 51.
The Naruto run, I forgot about that.
They were going to Naruto run into Area 51. They said they couldn't stop them all.
Didn't they have some people show up actually for that?
Yes,
Yeah.
they had a lot of people show up. Actually, I would
Yeah.
recommend, I think it was on Netflix.
Right.
There's a documentary
Not a
of that
sponsor.
very thing. Because I think it got started on 4chan or something, and it
Yeah,
just started going
something like-
viral,
something
and
like
people are like,
that,
oh,
yeah.
yeah, we're going to storm Area 51. Pretty entertaining documentary, I will say that.
So, and then, all right, so get to some movie stuff. Parasite won Best Picture at the Oscars. The movie we're watching, the budget was $23 million. They had a box office limited release, which only did 127,000. So they must have been very limited since it was a Netflix movie.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
You can't really find figures for Netflix stuff. Maybe you can. I just didn't dig that deep either. It was directed by David Michaud, I believe is how you say his last name. Main cast, like Dunkel said, Timothy Chalamet, Joel Edgerton, and Robert Pattinson, and Lily Rose Depp. She didn't really come in until the end, but
Yeah, I had to look that up after the fact. I'm like, who was that? It's like, oh, yeah, it's Johnny Depp's daughter.
it is based off
Ugh.
of Shakespeare's The Henriade plays, so it is based off of fiction. When I was reading, there are some things that match history, but it really is just a straight fiction based off of Shakespeare. So we don't really have to worry about historical stuff.
So it's kind of
And-
like, what is it, Shakespeare's Caesar, where a lot of
Basically,
just
yeah.
dramatized
Yeah.
things, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
A lot of dramatization, and it was filmed in Hungary.
Oh wow.
Probably saved on filming a bit.
Yeah,
Adding of the castles.
But again, you history nerds out there, leave us alone.
yeah. There actually wasn't like a lot of stuff that was actual history. Like there was just like a couple of nods to real historical events with Henry V. So I don't know that anybody goes to it for the historical accuracy of the movie.
Well, if they did, sorry. All right, who wants to kick us off with the kind of the opening of our movie?
Houseman, you can have it.
Well, so we kick off our adventures. First up, pretty brutal, actually. We have Mr. What was his name? Hotspur, they called him?
Hotspur, yep.
Yes. Percy Hotspur. Apparently battling some Scotsmen out in the field somewhere. Kind of, at first, when they first showed him, is kind of where I thought, well, this is going to be our protagonist, right? Because they kind of do this like, hey, I'm sorry I have to do this to this guy crawling on the ground, but you got to die. I'm just putting you out of your misery.
Right. Yeah, it was. Yeah, what I wrote down was like it definitely grabs your attention right away. Like I thought it was going to be a lot of fights. Maybe I actually didn't think it was going to be against the French. I guess when the movie started, I thought we were going to be against the Scotsmen, and that was going to be the storyline. But
Yeah, but they do, like I said, they do that kind of close up on his face, and he turns and kind of cringes as he's doing it.
yeah,
It's like, yeah, this guy seems all right. At least he's reluctant.
right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I expected a little bit more drama with that beginning.
Yes, very much
for
so.
sure. Mhm. Then they get into not the round table, the table with the king, and he just starts throwing insults that are just
Oh,
amazing.
that dude, yeah, Hotspur,
Like-
man, he just openly defying the dude.
Shakespearean insults all day. That was awesome.
Like, I don't care if you're the king. You suck.
Right?
Release
It was almost
my,
like-
what was it, his cousin?
Yeah, it was
Mortimer?
his
Yeah.
cousin Mortimer. Yeah, he wanted
was-
Mortimer to be freed, and the king said no, he's bad.
Yes, and an actor who you don't see very often, kind of like a, I don't want to call him a minor character actor, but a character actor nonetheless. What is his name?
The
Forgive me
King?
while I look it up here.
I thought I had that written down. Maybe I didn't.
If I'm not mistaken, he was also in Tomb Raider. Ben Mendelsohn, that was his name.
Oh yeah, Ben Mendelsohn. Yep.
Kind of one you don't see often in movies, but sort
Right,
of a
and, like-
refreshing choice for the king.
Right, and
Mhm.
even there, and then like later on in the movie, there's always people throwing insults at whoever the king is, and like, wouldn't they just kill them?
That was my
Right.
thought exactly.
Like
defying
isn't
the
that
king.
isn't that like a death sentence to make fun of the king and yell at him in front
Treasonable
of everybody?
offense.
Yep. That was my immediate assumption. Is like, oh, that dude's dead after this.
Right.
It feels like a lot of those like nighttime movies that we see where it's like they're just always thrashing it. The king is either sick or just down with illness and just gone crazy. The crazy kings.
Well, there is some historical accuracy to that because you
Yeah.
know,
Well, yeah,
Disease,
kings,
yeah.
yes, and kings will say got around, and with that
Yeah.
came diseases,
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, yeah, lots of diseases.
and of course,
Um,
poor medicine.
Right.
Yeah.
Then you find out, you see Timothy Chalamet's character as Hal, I believe they called
Mhm.
him, until he became Henry V.
Is that historically accurate in the sense where each of the Henrys had a original name, and as they became king, they became the next Henry?
Honestly, probably.
I think Hal. It felt to me like Hal was like a nickname,
Possibly.
like because he probably didn't want to be known as Henry,
Right.
Yeah.
so he's like, hey, no, I'm Hal. Just call me because he's. I guess we're gonna get to it though, right? He kind of leads this debaucherous life
Well, yeah, you see he's hung over like a lot when you first meet him
with his good friend John Falstaff,
with his good friend John Falstaff, who comes in the door with a key he made, apparently.
played by
to
Joel
get in there.
Edgerton.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
Almost
found
like
that. I found that opening with there was three of only two of them really mattered though. It was Falstaff and Hal, because I don't even remember the other guy's name. Because there was another guy who came in with John.
Yeah, no, I don't remember it. Yeah,
But then I did write down like they're with a member of the royal family, walking around, going to bars. None of them had a weapon, at least in the beginning. So like member of the royal family out being debaucherous, but no weapons on anyone to protect him from anything.
but I think the way they made it seem, at least, is like he had probably just been living his life outside the castle all this time.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think he was actually living inside the castle. I think he was just living in that inn.
Yeah, he was the Prince of Wales, but he was just living in a normal homestead.
So I guess he was
Right.
trying to live somewhere where nobody would recognize him.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I
Because
think
at least the
they
way people
recognize-
treated him, right, is like they didn't know he was that person.
Right. Or it was like, I could also see, because he talks about it, because much after when the king announces that he's dying, he lets him know that I have to find my, who will take over the crown next, and he lets him know, like, it's not going to be you. And he's like, no, nor have I ever wanted it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I wanted to get to that. Yeah, I want to talk about
Yeah.
that scene because that is
Yeah.
just
You,
invites the dude just to like
Yeah,
throw in
yeah.
his face.
Yeah.
Nope, not you.
But
That's
the
all I
king-
brought you
the-
here for.
The king was like, "You look terrible and you smell." And I wrote down, "The king also looks terrible." Like,
yeah. Well, I think that because
I know he's sick, but like,
yeah.
you also look terrible.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
'Cause I think, and I'd have to go back, because he was actually banished to Wales because of his drunkery and his, let's say, entertaining of others, if you will.
Yeah.
He was
in that
fruitful
in-
at the brothel.
right in that scene too. And I don't know if it was like a character choice or maybe it was part of Shakespeare's play, but the archbishop with the lisp,
Yeah.
I could not get over the lisp. The
Yeah.
whole movie,
hmm
and nobody said anything about it.
And I
Yeah.
wonder, like, was that like an intentional choice?
Right? Was that
Was
an
there an
intentional
archbishop with a
choice?
lisp back then or something?
It was just
Mhm.
yeah, and then, but like I was expecting like in one of the scenes I was expecting Timothy Chalamet's character to say something while he was like
Hmm.
explaining something. No,
What,
nobody talks about the lisp at all.
Yeah, the closest he got to that when he was explaining all the things is why he should attack, was it France at that time? He said, "What do you want?"
Yeah,
Basically.
pretty
He's like,
much,
Get to
yeah.
the point.
Yeah, because he was reading a bunch of laws that didn't
Yeah.
make any sense or it were just like
Mm.
crazy laws.
Basically, he's like, "What are they doing?" And he's like, "They are not a legitimate throne. I want it back."
Right.
Just say that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
To be honest, it's a little weird, but when I was watching that scene with the Archbishop with a lisp. All I could think of, what was it? Gosh, Robin Hood Men in Tights? Marriage.
Yeah, same thing. Yeah, kind of the same thing. Which is why I
no,
thought
that
maybe
was Princess Bride. That's what it was.
Princess Bride. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why I was like, maybe that was a choice, like a Shakespeare thing. Like he threw a Archbishop with a lisp in there.
Either that or a very
thing.
veiled parody reference from the 80s.
I did enjoy the accuracy as like when they're working their way to France, that the priests were getting this kingly treatment of, well, we can't have them walking through water. They're carrying them to the water, and they're in their own carriages. And the one thing I thought of is they had one guy. He had he had one horse in front and back, and there's a pole that ran in between, and he was in this little carriage. And all I could see was this carriage swaying left and right like this the whole time. And they're traversing like a couple 100 miles, I'm assuming, at least 100 miles probably. That would make me so insanely sick to just the whole way going swinging side to side. It's like there's no way that's
laying
enjoyable.
down like that,
right? It'd be crazy. To go back a little bit though, then his brother goes to war with Hotspur's family now.
Brother Thomas.
They're the enemies, and Thomas is going to be the new king.
The youngest son, kind of we'll say the good kid.
Yep, and
the good example.
I hate him.
I do too.
He was the whiniest. I just did not care for that character whatsoever.
The younger brother?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think they knew that going in. Like, he was portrayed that. Because Timothy was like, you choose him of all people. He's nuts dead for war. And then I'll let you get to the point is what Timothy does once they get into war there.
Yeah, well, he offers to duel Hotspur, which the battles in this movie and the fights were very realistic.
They really like to portray it's not this like fantasy medieval warfare thing you usually see. No, it's just
it wasn't sword spinning, doing turns. It was we're gonna punch and kick and fight and
down in the mud.
It's hard for me. It was hard for me to actually agree with the way they were portraying that Timothy was winning those fights, because I didn't think he really had the build to really muscle people around the way he was doing in some of those fights. And they were saying how good at war he was. That's the other thing I had a hard time with. Like, just felt like he probably wouldn't have actually won that.
Actually laughed before that duel because Hotspur started yelling, "Where's the big dog?"
Yeah.
Where's the big dog?
Yeah, and I was like, Timothy is not bigger than that guy, but okay.
You got your big boy pants on? I need the big dog.
Give me the big dog.
It made me think of a video I actually watched earlier that day. It was like, my friend called me Big Dog today, and I'm feeling good about it. Call your friend Big Dog. It's right. Timothy in the back. Yeah, he called me Big Dog. You hear that? But yeah, Timothy kind of takes over that fight and ends up winning the duel. And then he goes to his brother with the scalp in the helmet and basically just tells him, if you continue on this will be you at some point in time. And the brother was just upset. Like, this was my chance to prove myself, and you stole every part of that from me.
Yep, that's where I wrote that I hated him.
Yeah, he had a tantrum about it. And then he died. And then, so he won that for him, so he didn't have to fight anymore. And then he fast forwards a couple of days or weeks in their universe, if you will, and he asks one of the maidens where his brother is, and he continued forward, and he died like 2 weeks after that. So it's
that was John came and told him.
While he was
with a maiden, but John came and told him that. Yeah,
he's like, he died shortly afterwards.
Yeah, and then he went and saw his dad and pulled the blankets off his dad. And...
Because that's what we did back in the day when you were having sickness. We just covered you up. Keep him warm. Yeah. Keep him warm.
You gotta sweat it out of people.
I did like that kind of reluctant motivation behind his character though, where it was, I don't really want all this crap, but my little brother's about to get himself killed out on the battlefield. I'm an idiot.
If I have to. I would, agree 100%. Yeah.
So I'm going to go out there and save his butt. Even though he doesn't see it that way. And then, of course, as you mentioned, right, just goes back to his life of debauchery after that. None the wiser at anything else.
They did have that small scene, if you remember, where he was like puking from guilt of what he did.
Yeah, he had trouble with the murder.
Yeah, he had trouble with actually the actual killing. I thought that was a good.
To kind of go back to what you said, right, is like that was one of those things like. The realities of what it might have been like back then, not just I killed a guy, but he was a bad guy, so I'm good.
Yeah, and then because John finds him, whatever he says, somewhere in the lines of "You've killed somebody, and I've seen that look on a man, and it does something to a man."
Like that old grizzled veteran pep talk,
Yeah,
right.
sucks, dude, but you got to move on.
Yeah, and then you get into some what I would say is pretty boring part of the whole movie. I thought it was going to be a lot more actiony after we had that kind of a start into there, and then you get into like what was probably supposed to be political intrigue, you know, where machinations are happening in the background and he's not aware of them, but there really wasn't that much to it.
No, I feel like a lot happened for nothing to happen.
Yeah, because spoiler alert if anybody has seen the movie. At the end, you find out that it was one of his trusted advisors, but they didn't show any of the things that his trusted advisor did. So it wasn't really much of a political like area of like trying to do stuff in the background. I feel like they.
Yeah. The only thing I took from that is that maybe deep down his father wasn't the one that wanted all the wars. It was all of his advisors that were being greedy and wanted more. And that was his way of realizing that you guys were the one doing all this, not him. Because he asked the political advisor, kind of jumping towards the end there, how much land he'll now have in France now that they've taken it over.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, yet to be decided.
Right. And it does like the Archbishop, and Hal makes that comment of, because the Archbishop says, well, first France and then the Holy Land, basically, all the way back to Jerusalem. So, like, trying to restart the Holy Wars after France, which it would be crazy.
I agree with you, though, in that, like, this next part, it kind of does show that drudgery of, like, how you begin a war, you know?
Yeah.
There was this initial, like, I received a ball from France.
He sent me a ball from France. Yeah.
My king, that's an insult. You must answer. And he's like, dude, it's just a ball.
Right.
It's like, no, it's an insult. And he's like,
a ball and then an assassin.
And then an assassin. And then things really escalate.
Yeah, and then it escalates.
I did enjoy the way his wife, which was the daughter of the leader of France, and that was like kind of their agreement. You know, you'll take us over, but you must marry my wife. And she asks, or my daughter, if you will. And she asks him, why did you do it? And he brings up like, well, you sent me a ball. And she's like, what? So you have no reason for what you've done. And like, I was waiting for her to make a comment like, so you're just a man who got a ball, and decided he was upset about it.
Pretty much.
So I kind of enjoyed that callback.
Yeah. And then you see like he kind of forgets about Sir John, Joel Edgerton's character. And then,
did they give a timeline on that? Like how long he had been in place?
No, I figured it was maybe like I feel like they said a couple weeks or a few weeks or something like that. And then he goes and meets him at the bar and asks him to come help him because he doesn't trust anybody else. And honestly, Joel Edgerton is very underrated in this movie. Like, he needs to be probably in more stuff, I feel like. I liked it. I like the character of John Falstaff a lot, and he didn't even have that many lines, to be honest with you.
Right. He just played the town drunk and the old hero. And like, yeah, that was the thing. I didn't understand in the beginning what he really was. Was he there to protect Hal? Was he just there because they had met there and they became comrades? Or
yeah, I think they were just friends that they met at the bar.
Yeah, I think because he mentioned being a veteran.
Yeah,
he was what war it was, but yeah.
I have a note about that, and if we can talk about it once they start getting more into France. But then so they do start going to France. They land with a bunch of boats, and I just wrote down trebuchets, but that scene with the trebuchets launching fire boulders at the castle was so well shot. As like a scene, like showing it going up there, lighting up people's faces. It just doing the actual just like bonk and falling.
It was like boring and tense at the same time.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of what I wanted to get to, right? Because as they start their way across the English Channel in the boats, and they set up in this abandoned village right outside this castle. And instead of this like, kind of action scene calling out the king and the troops coming out, it's like, it just gets into those drudgeries of like actual siege warfare where it's just like, all right, let's set up some tents. We'll keep firing trebuchets until they give up. And hopefully they do.
The actual siege. And they talk about that too. Like, we should just run in there. And they're like, no, everybody will die. So we'll just wait. We'll wait it out.
Yeah.
We'll just wait him out and keep launching fire at him.
And I believe it was the Archbishop at one point. He was wondering, right? He's like, why are you guys sieging the castle? Like, can't you just go around?
Yep. That's what
just, total ignorance. He's like, okay, how are we going to resupply this war if we don't have a foothold on the coast to resupply ourselves with?
Well, my first thought when he said that was, they can also come behind you. Like,
they
can't just go around and leave an entire castle full of soldiers.
Then your supply lines are choked off and you're screwed.
Yep. And then you get Robert Pattinson, right? Pattinson.
Ah,
Robert
the
Pattinson's character.
Dauphine?
The Dauphine, the with a crazy French accent.
Yeah, I was going to say, no offense there, Robert Pattinson, but that was a bit of a cringy French accent.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But
It felt-
in the middle of the night during a war, and then he starts insulting Hal.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, you're at war. Just kill him.
No, it's rules of engagement, man. You know, you can't just kill the priest or not the priest, the prince. Can't just kill the king. There are manners.
Yeah,
my
and
good
then
sir.
he basically tells them not to do it, and then this is what'll happen. And then they sneak up on the camp in the middle of the night and just kill the boys.
Yeah,
like,
that scene was the scenes are just raw.
Yeah, it was So they shoot the two boys with the arrows, and then they have the one kid carry the head back. Like, just felt like, I mean, pretty good war tactics. And then for what though? I guess I was like, I guess it was like a warning shot, but
Yeah, it was just
of
kind
like,
of a we
can get
can
to you.
do this. Yeah, we can get to you maybe. Yeah, one note I made in this, because I think Hal gets in Sir John's face. Timothy Chalamet, regardless of how good of an actor he is not intimidating.
No,
Like,
that's what I was saying about the fights earlier.
He
It's
tried
like, it's
he
just
tried a
not-
few times to like be intimidating in someone's face, and I was just like, no.
Oh, and especially with John, he was like,
I was just like, no.
because what was it he
What-
wanted him to do, right? I think it was like
he-
shortly after.
He
He
wanted
wanted
to kill all the Frenchmen that they had in
All the
custody.
prisoners, yeah.
Yep,
He wanted to kill all the
custody.
prisoners and put them on pikes.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Sir John was like, "You're not that man."
Well, there were two requests, and he's like, the first one I can do, the second one, no.
Yeah, he
Not
was like,
doing that.
You're not that man." And then they keep arguing, and then Timothy Chalamet tries to be intimidating and say something
Yeah.
like, "I'll disembowel you right here."
Yeah.
And Sir John just like, "You're not that man either," and just walks away.
Yeah, because he's also like John's also like a war-torn guy. Like he's been through the trenches of all this
Right.
stuff. He's also larger, and he has the tactics of it. And it's
Well-
just like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
Walks
And
away.
you can tell that Henry knows that he knows, like, you're not going to do it. You're,
Right.
Yeah.
No, I can call your bluff.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I know you.
Absolutely. And this is where, okay, so we're about at the point where I was telling you when we get to France. So they start having the argument about how they're going to take the French army on the hill, who already have the high ground, which is basically what
Yeah.
they were saying. And Sir John lays out a plan that would work. And actually, when I was looking up like the historical events, was really what happened in that battle. The
Oh,
English,
really?
the English longbows took out the heavy infantry of the French in the mud. That was
Oh.
actually what happened. But so, did you guys catch like the nod to Robin Hood
No.
with Sir John?
No.
Okay, so they set it up. The guy's yelling because he says Sir John is nothing. He fought for King Richard in
Mhm.
like one war, and then he came back and he robbed people. And Sir John said, "I only robbed those who needed to be robbed."
Oh,
No.
I
And
did
it's
not
like-
catch that.
I was like, the
reference.
whole story of Robin Hood is him and Little John fought for King Richard in the Holy Wars and came back and robbed people who needed to be robbed. So I was like, was that like a reference to Robin Hood back like in there? Like, is he supposed to be Little John from Robin Hood?
Well, that could have been in the original Shakespearean play then, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And then he has like a helmet with a cross on it too. So I was like, we're putting some pieces together here, I feel like.
I did not catch that. Good note there. Holy moly. But yeah, so what was the I did like the way he presented the strategy in the movie though. Where it's like, okay, so you think it's gonna rain. You think if we take our armor off and go light and it rains, that we can take the French army.
Yep.
And how do you know it's gonna rain, sir? I can feel it in my knee.
My knee
Yep.
hurts.
It's in my old knee here. It's hurting.
Yep.
The old trick knee.
Like just the equivalent of, nah, trust me. It's my gut instinct.
The old trick knee. But
So
yeah.
do you want to jump into the fight that ensues there?
Yeah, so like their plan, like I said, it was historical, but also a really good plan. Like if it's muddy, they have horses, they still have to run down the hill, egg them on and then hit them from the sides, like guerrilla warfare style. But
And again, for a like highly dramatized movie, one of those little kind of like realistic drudgeries they, visit again. Like, yeah, mud sucked. You
Dude,
had dudes that
the-
had to walk around in this.
I
dude,
didn't-
the
yeah.
fights in the mud were like
Oh.
brutal,
Horse stomping on the heads
Yeah.
and everything.
down
yeah.
and dirty, brutal. I'm pretty sure Timothy Chalamet drowns a guy in the mud at one point in time.
Yes.
It was a brutal fight. They killed
Mhm.
the only good character in the movie off.
John.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't like how they worked their way into like their hiding spot on the flank for the woods because it's like it was such a wide open area, and if there's people watching, there's no way they didn't see a half of the army sneak into the woods.
Yeah,
and
it
especially-
wasn't a super dense woods. No,
it wasn't
You
very
would've thought
clean. Like
somebody would have seen them, but
like
I mean,
especially shining armor. Like, hey, There's a guy over there. What the heck? So yeah, they kind of get into it, and then after all the armies clash, it kind of turns into Timothy Chalamet and Robert Pattinson kind of staring at each other and saying, "Okay, let's do this."
Oh,
And
yeah.
you expect a whole lot from Pattinson, where he kind of like puts on his helmet, grabs a sword, he just kind of like spars up. You're like, "Oh, he's gonna do something," and then it's just this embarrassing slipping all over the place in the mud.
Yep.
I was so thoroughly disappointed with that because of all of this sneakery in the woods prior about how he's kind of like an assassin and they're kind of pulling this off. And then, all this build up to this, and then it's just like kind of fumbling in the mud. And then Timothy's like, he's not even worth it, puts his sword in the ground and just tells the people around him.
Yep, just gives him the head nod, stab him, and go stab him.
Go ahead.
I think I'm okay saying it's probably one of the most unceremonious death scenes.
Oh my god. It was like it took the dramatic suspense and then just made it into comedic farce of just like, well, this was nothing. Like it felt like all this dramatic buildup of like, oh, take France, and then
the execution was slapstick. I'll agree with you. There.
Yeah, it was pretty slapstick. Yeah, but I mean, like that was the whole plan too, though, was that all the people in plate weren't going to be able to be in the mud, and then he came loaded down with plate to fight him after he turned him down for the duel in the first place.
Yeah, it just felt very counter to the entire movie to that point. There really wasn't much slapstick humor to just have the end of it be a slapstick humor.
And that wasn't the intention, but
it probably wasn't the intention. But I mean, probably it might have been.
I'm sorry.
There was probably some Shakespeare stuff there, I bet.
Maybe, yeah. I'm sure Shakespeare added some comedy in there. But yeah, to kind of get back to the fight scenes in the mud, I think, were probably some of the most brutal fight scenes I've seen in war movies.
Yeah, it was.
I know
really
some, like,
good
if you look back
scene.
at like Braveheart, right? They more focused on like the gore of things.
Mm-hmm.
But this was like, you got dudes in armor, you can't really stab them necessarily. So you're just going to take a hammer and you're going to beat their helmets in until it crushes their heads.
It's like that line from Lord of the Rings. They're only in the neck or under the arm. It's the only places you can hit them.
Yep. Or like knife through the faceplate. I don't know how many times they did that in this movie. But oh my gosh.
Well, and then even like when Timothy Chalamet runs in there, like, and I know this is like it's been written down in history. How did he know who he was attacking? They're all so covered in mud.
Yeah, I think that's where the distinct helmets come into play.
Yeah, he's just flying in there, grabbing this guy from behind, stabbing this guy, jumping on top of it. Like, how do you actually know who you're attacking?
Yeah, and I thought the same thing with John. And then they just kind of had like this 2-minute moment of John with his helmet just off, like drowning in the sea of everybody going after each other, kind of floating away. Like, oh my God.
I mean, you got to remember, it's probably 80 pounds of plate mail that those guys had on. So, like, you didn't have a lot of fight in you once you got into it.
Yeah.
And maybe I missed it, but did he just die by being crushed?
They didn't. They didn't actually show, which is good because they didn't need to show him. Like, he sacrificed himself so the rest of the army could win. So I feel like not showing him get stabbed to death or whatever was a way better play than.
Well, they kind of foreshadowed it with the night before because he's like, "Hey, I'm going to lead the charge," and we know that.
Yeah.
They're
well,
going
it
to
was
come after us.
The doubt of like the people were already trying to tell Hal to discredit him because of like, oh, who is he? And he's like, well, if I'm going to get them to do what I think is going to be right, then I might as well have to join them because that's probably the only way they're going to agree with it. But yeah, so then they go through the fight and then he just finds them laying on the ground.
Yeah. While they're grabbing swords and stuff to keep.
Again, great acting by Joel Edgerton. Love the character.
Yep.
Wish he would have had more screen time, but
I mean, Timothy Chalamet is a really good actor too. He just, I don't know, he was supposed to be more intimidating, I feel like, and just he's not. I don't know, doesn't seem that intimidating.
This role didn't feel like it suited him very well. Him himself in the dramatic moments, yes, but it just came off more as he's a spoiled kid and he's going to take things.
Yeah. I mean, his speech before they start against France was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Like screaming, "We are England." That was actually a pretty decent speech before the battle.
Yeah.
Then they get through that and they don't really show much. They get to France and the King of France is just like laying on his fainting couch. And I don't know if I noticed this or you guys might have noticed. He didn't really have a French accent, the King of France.
It was very subtle. I think he did, but it was very subtle.
Compared to Robert Pattinson's French accent, it was like nothing at all.
Like,
I
enjoyed the
it
one
felt like he didn't put an accent on at all.
Yeah, the one moment I did think was funny. Like maybe it's just because they were trying to learn English because Pattinson was like, and maybe that was part of like him not being able to do a French accent very well. He's like, let's speak English. I like English.
Yep.
Well, and I love it too because it was like a big insult to him too because he's like, yeah, let's speak English because it's simple and ugly.
Yeah, it's simple and ugly. Yeah, I love it. It's simple and ugly.
Yeah, and then the king when Chalamet walks in and is like, I hear the sun is good for you. Not too much. And he's just basically basking in the sun.
Oh, yeah.
tanning.
So at this point, like, they kind of wind it down pretty quickly, I'd say.
Very
Because now he meets the King of France. King immediately, like, starts in like, hey, yeah, I'm surrendering. You win.
Yep. I'm
I give up.
surrendering. You're going to marry my daughter.
Yeah, I have a proposal, though, yeah.
Yeah.
No conditions, but a proposal that you
Mhm.
marry my daughter.
Yeah. And then she actually kind of gets pretty stern with him once they get back to England. And he asks about the letter that he had sent about the ball and how he was offended. And her dad was just confused because he's like, or no, because the assassin. And he was confused and laughing about it because, like, he just figured you were drunk. And then
Yep.
that's where he kind of finds out the whole, like, there's more to this.
Yeah. What was his advisor's name? I cannot remember.
William.
William. Yep.
I kept having to think of it, too. They didn't
Yep.
say his name a lot, so it was kind of
No.
hard to remember.
And he was a pretty good character, honestly. if you're
Sean
not-
Harris
not
is
really,
who that was.
Not really saying a lot of stuff.
No, and that, like, I think from the beginning, too, right? William was kind of portrayed as this, like, doting, wise guy, you know?
Pretty much, yeah.
Or,
he was
sorry,
just
wise advisor.
like an
Mhm.
advisor. Yeah, advisor to his dad.
Yeah.
Now he's your advisor.
And-
Yeah.
Because, yeah, he's like, hey, you seem like you'd make a good king. I think the fact that you don't want to be one makes you
Even
makes it
better.
so you should be one.
Right.
You're
Um,
one of the people.
And then so they get into it, and like I said, spoilers if anybody, but you find out that he was the one doing a bunch of stuff in the background. But when he starts like doing the lies about it, for someone who was doing all this stuff in the background, is the worst liar ever.
Oh, yeah, because he's like,
Because like when met with the confrontations, he's like, I don't remember. And he's like, he was in the street. No, it was the guards. It was like, well, how are you the worst liar ever? You were starting a war.
and I think at that point, I think part of me thought, okay, does he just think the jig is up and he's caught, so he's not really trying that hard? Or did he honestly think that the king was going to buy that?
I didn't also understand the effort that they were putting for him to be like, no, you stand up there, because he was getting tailored by somebody with a coat, and he tried to step down and have the conversation. He kept on telling him, no, you stay up there. No, you stay up there. So I didn't understand what that jab was kind of for.
I think it
Make
was
him
just
stand.
because it hurt him to get up and down from whatever his leg was. I think he
Oh,
was just
maybe.
doing. I think he was doing it just to be like, I can tell you to do this, and you're going to do it. So
Right? You're not
get back up there. Yeah.
Yeah. So then he walks over and he kneels down to him and he says, we got everything you wanted. I got you what you wanted. I got you the peace. But with peace, you have to have victory. And he kneels in front of him. And then Timothy just raw dogs him in the back of the head with a dagger. Kunk. And then he's dead. I was like, that was like a raw moment. Like that was the first. That was actually the first time in the movie I was like, oof, that was a thud. Oh my God.
I was like,
That was
that was brutal because he was just like, dunk. Yeah.
Mhm.
I was like,
I thought to
"Ooh."
myself, that's like a real Game of Thrones moment there. Just,
Oh yeah, for sure. It was very,
ceremony.
very brutal.
Yeah.
but the
Brutal.
guy did have it coming. He started.
He
an entire
did. Yeah,
war,
he started a war.
so he could get
lots,
more land in France.
lots of
Yeah.
people died. He wanted more land.
All this for just a piece of land.
Yes.
Well, for his 2,000 sheep, I think is what he was saying.
Yeah. Now, one thing I did appreciate though is how they portrayed, and it was a bit dramatic, right? I'll admit, but how they portrayed. What was her name? The
Catherine?
soon-to-be queen, daughter of
Catherine.
the French king. Was it Catherine? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it was Catherine.
But just how, like, in the moment she tells him, like, hey, whatever people have told you is not true. There was no assassin. There was no ball. And just this look of, like, I just went to war, lost my best friend for nothing.
Yep. All
for
the wheels,
literally nothing.
all the wheels start turning.
And just that moment of realization when it hits his face. I think he did a good job of portraying that.
Yeah.
Because, like, you could
Yeah.
tell he was trying to be, like, stoic and pretend as if he knew what was going on, but you could tell it was just all falling apart in his head.
Yeah, Timothy Chalamet was really good in it. Yeah, he definitely can make the faces that look like he's into the movie the most of the time. Like even like after the battle, he does look a little bit crazed, like battle crazed when he goes to see the King of France. Like you can see his eyes shifting around and all that good stuff. So
It's kind of this last moment of redemption, I'd say. Our last scene is him speaking with Catherine, basically just, hey, always be honest with me. I don't care. I expect nothing of you, but always be honest with me.
yeah,
Which I thought was kind of nice, right? It was kind of a cool scene to end things off on.
yeah, it was a good scene to end it.
Not a happily ever after necessarily, but hey, at least things might continue a little more civilized.
Yeah.
Yes.
So now,
Should we give our ratings?
I think we should give our ratings.
Don't we want to go first?
Yeah, I can go. I think for me it was probably about a 1,200. It wasn't very high up there out of a 1,507. Yeah, I just didn't think that. I think this story had potential, but Timothy just didn't sell it for me. And the farce of the fight with the end of France was just very abrupt. The ending just kind of like, it just ended so fast. There's just all this dramatic buildup, like it wanted to be a series to just drop off so fast at the end.
And you kind of wonder, how much they were trying to pander to history versus
Right.
pandering to the source material.
Yeah, you kind of like, to Berg's point, if you will, all this buildup and all of this pacing in the beginning to just drop it fast. So yeah,
Yep.
that is my standpoint.
So 1,200 out of 1,507 for Dunkel. I'm going to give it maybe a little higher, 1,276 out of 1,507. I thought overall it was a well-acted movie. I thought its pacing was rocky. So I'm not going to say it had good pacing. Its pacing was a little rocky, but I mean, talking about characters, Joel Edgerton's character, Sir John Falstaff, Timothy Chalamet, I think did a good job. That kind of reluctant hero almost. Yeah.
Yep.
Again,
And then I was right about there with you guys. I was at 1250. Mostly, the slowness, the lead up, the yelling at the king, and then just like dead for almost an hour until they go to France, of like not really that much going on. So I think it would have been higher. Like you said, the acting was good. Timothy Chalamet was good. Joel Edgerton was amazing. Robert Pattinson's character was like funny, but I mean, he was in there for like 10 minutes.
Yeah. And again, the cringy French accent did not help.
No, but some of his insults, which we don't need to say on here because we're going to try to keep it more family, were hilarious.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was The King 2019.
If you want to watch it, you can catch it on Netflix. We're not shills for Netflix. Just tell me where you can watch the movie.
So we'll kind of segue into what we got coming in next week. Try and keep it obscure as we usually can. There's a lot of different ways we could have went about my lead into this. There was the Darwin thought, because I like the gym. I wanted to go the route of, I used to think survival of the fittest meant going to the gym and taking your time. But a meteorite in 2001 made me realize it can happen overnight.
That's right, folks. We travel back to 2001, and you'll have to catch us next week to find out what we're watching.
All right. See you, everybody.
Yep. Catch you the next one.
Adios, folks.